I never expected my last football season to turn into a nightmare. The excitement of the championship was palpable, but an unsettling feeling gnawed at me every time I stepped onto the field. Coach Wilson had become increasingly intense, and his gaze often felt more predatory than motivating. The day of the first practice after a brutal loss, I stood by my locker, listening to the familiar sounds of my teammates gearing up. Coach Wilson strode in, the atmosphere shifting immediately. "All right, team, let's show them what we've got," his voice boomed. But there was something off about his enthusiasm, like a dark undercurrent that made my skin crawl. As we practiced, I noticed the way he focused on me. It wasn't just typical coaching. It felt personal. He pushed me harder than anyone else, encouraging risky plays and ignoring my minor injuries. "Jake, you need to toughen up," he'd bark, his eyes glinting with an intensity that made me uneasy. One day, I overheard him talking to the assistant coach, his voice low and filled with a twisted edge. "Jake needs to understand what it takes to be a champion. He can't be weak." Those words stuck in my mind like a warning. Something was very wrong. The day of our final practice before the championship, Coach Wilson set up a tackling drill. My heart raced as I faced one of our bigger players. I felt the pressure from my teammates, the need to prove myself. But as I lined up, the instinct to run was overwhelming. "Don't hold back," Wilson shouted, a sinister grin spreading across his face. When the drill began, everything happened in a blur. My teammate charged, and I braced for impact. But it was worse than I imagined. The collision sent me crashing to the ground, pain shooting through my leg. I screamed, my vision going white. "You'll learn, Jake. You'll learn," Coach Wilson said, standing over me as I lay there, feeling a cold dread settle in my stomach. I spent the night nursing my injuries, but a fire ignited within me. I couldn't let him win. The next day, I decided to confront him. I found him alone in the empty locker room, the fluorescent lights flickering overhead. "Why are you doing this?" I demanded, my voice shaking with anger and fear. "Because you need to be broken to become great," he replied, his voice chilling. "Pain is the only way to learn." His words chilled me to the bone. I wasn't just a player to him. I was a pawn in a sick game. "I won't be your pawn," I said, the defiance swelling inside me. But as I turned to leave, he grabbed my arm, his grip like iron. "You're not in control here. You'll play my game or you'll be sorry." I broke free and bolted for the door, heart pounding. I had to warn my teammates. I had to expose him. The championship game arrived, and I felt the weight of fear and determination. I played cautiously, knowing Wilson was watching, waiting for me to slip up. Each time I ran a play, I felt his eyes drilling into me. I had to survive this. As the game intensified, I found myself in a dangerous position, targeted by a rival player. Adrenaline coursed through my veins as I prepared for the hit. But when I looked to the sidelines, I saw Coach Wilson's manic grin, his eyes alight with something sinister. In that moment, I realized this was about more than just football. It was about survival. I dodged the incoming tackle and ran toward the sidelines, breaking free from the chaos. Wilson's face twisted in rage, and I felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with fear. We won the game, but it felt hollow. I had escaped his grasp, but I knew this wasn't over. Weeks passed after the season ended, and whispers began circulating that Coach Wilson had left the school under mysterious circumstances. But as I celebrated with my teammates, a chill settled in my bones. Every time I closed my eyes, I could still hear Wilson's voice echoing in my mind. "You'll learn, Jake. You'll learn." Deep down, I knew that the lessons of pain and fear wouldn't leave me easily. I had faced the darkness, but I could still feel its shadow lurking just beneath the surface.